On October 8, 2005, a disastrous earthquake struck the Kashmir region, which is administered by Pakistan. The quake primarily affected areas in the northwest frontier province of Pakistan and nearby parts of India and Afghanistan. It occurred at 8:50 in the morning, just as many people were starting their day. The earthquake measured 7.6 in magnitude, making it one of the most powerful earthquakes in the region's history. The epicenter was located near the city of Muzaffarabad, which is the capital of Azad Jammu and Kashmir. This region lies at the collision point of the Eurasian and Indian tectonic plates, which creates unstable geological activity. The earthquake's severity was heightened by poor construction in the affected areas. The combination of these factors led to an overwhelming impact, causing the loss of tens of thousands of lives and leaving millions displaced. Prior to the earthquake, the Kashmir region had experienced numerous seismic events, but none had prepared the population for the scale of this disaster. The day of the earthquake was a typical Saturday, and many students were at school, making the tragedy even more devastating. Little did the people know that their lives would change in an instant, as the ground shook violently, marking the beginning of one of the deadliest earthquakes in South Asia's history. The earthquake that struck on October 8, 2005, was a result of complex geological processes. The Kashmir region lies at the junction of the Eurasian and Indian tectonic plates. This collision has created immense pressure over time, leading to unstable seismic conditions in the area. As the plates moved, stress built up along faults in the Earth's crust. On the morning of the earthquake at 8:50 in the morning, this pressure finally released. The earthquake originated about 12 miles northeast of Muzaffarabad. Within moments, the ground shook violently, registering a moment magnitude of 7.6. This sudden release of energy caused severe upthrust, impacting not just the surface, but also the underlying geological structures. In the days leading up to the quake, the region experienced some minor tremors, which are often common before a major seismic event. However, these tremors did not indicate the scale of destruction that was about to occur. When the earthquake hit, it was felt far beyond the epicenter, with reports of shaking reaching as far as Afghanistan and northern India. The devastation that followed would leave lasting scars on the landscape and the people of the region. As the first day of the disaster unfolded, rescue workers faced a challenging situation. Many roads were blocked due to landslides triggered by the quake, making it difficult to reach those in need. The harsh terrain and sudden weather changes added to the urgency of the relief efforts, as the approaching winter threatened to complicate rescue operations further. The stage was set for a humanitarian crisis that would demand immediate action from both local and international communities. As the sun rose on October 9th, 2005, the full extent of the devastation began to reveal itself. The earthquake struck with a force that shattered lives and landscapes. Buildings crumbled like sandcastles, and entire neighborhoods disappeared beneath debris. Muzaffarabad, the capital of Azad Jammu and Kashmir, was among the hardest hit, with many structures collapsing and leaving residents trapped under the rubble. Throughout the day, panic and confusion reigned as survivors tried to make sense of what had happened. Many people were caught off guard, especially since it was a Saturday, a day when schools were filled with students. Tragically, many school buildings fell, burying hundreds of children. Reports emerged from Mansehra district, where entire classes were lost as buildings collapsed, killing 350 students in one location alone. Emergency responders faced overwhelming challenges. The aftermath of the quake triggered numerous aftershocks, some strong enough to cause additional damage and hinder rescue efforts. By the end of the first week, more than 900 aftershocks had been recorded, further destabilizing the region and complicating the already dire situation. As relief efforts ramped up, the lack of infrastructure became painfully evident. Roads were blocked and communication systems were down, making it nearly impossible for aid workers to reach affected areas. Hospitals were overwhelmed with injured individuals, many of whom required immediate medical attention. The death toll began to rise rapidly as rescuers struggled to access remote villages that had been cut off by landslides. The shockwaves of the earthquake were felt not only in the physical destruction, but also in the emotional turmoil it unleashed. Families searched desperately for missing loved ones, while communities banded together to support each other amidst the chaos. The first days following this earthquake set the stage for a humanitarian crisis that would demand a coordinated response from local and international organizations alike. The urgent need for shelter, food, and medical care became a focal point as the days stretched on, and hope began to fade for many. In the wake of the devastating earthquake, the landscape of northern Pakistan was forever altered. The destruction extended far beyond the immediate loss of life. Entire ecosystems were impacted as well. Landslides swept through the mountains, burying roads and blocking rivers, which created new hazards for communities still reeling from the initial quake. In many areas, natural habitats were disrupted, leaving wildlife displaced and vulnerable. The humanitarian crisis deepened as millions found themselves without shelter. As winter approached, the harsh weather conditions posed an additional threat. Many survivors were forced to live in makeshift camps, struggling against the cold and inadequate supplies. The estimated 4 million people rendered homeless faced a bleak reality, with little hope for immediate relief. Basic needs, like food, clean water, and medical assistance became increasingly urgent as weeks turned into months. In addition to the physical destruction, the earthquake had a profound emotional and psychological impact on the survivors. Families lost loved ones, and entire communities were shattered. Grief and trauma spread through the region as individuals coped with the loss and destruction around them. The psychological scars ran deep, complicating recovery efforts. As international aid began to flow into the region, efforts focused on rebuilding not just the physical structures, but also the lives of those affected. The scale of the disaster necessitated a coordinated response from governments, NGOs, and local organizations, all working together to provide assistance. However, the task was monumental, and the effects of the earthquake would be felt for years to come. Efforts to restore the natural environment also began, but the challenges remained significant. The damaged landscapes required careful rehabilitation, and communities faced the daunting task of rebuilding their homes and infrastructure while coping with the scars left by the earthquake. The resilience of the people in the affected areas shone through as they came together to support one another, but the road to recovery was long and fraught with obstacles. On the whole, the earthquake in Pakistan in 2005 stands as a grim reminder of nature's power and the profound impact it can have on human lives. The event reshaped the landscape of the affected regions and left scars that will last for generations. The death toll exceeded 80,000, with many more injured and millions displaced, showcasing the sheer scale of this tragedy. The impact was not only physical. Families lost loved ones, and entire communities were torn apart. In the aftermath, the response from both local and international communities highlighted the importance of solidarity in times of crisis. Relief efforts poured in from around the world, with billions of dollars raised to aid recovery and rebuilding. Humanitarian organizations and governments worked tirelessly to provide food, shelter, and medical care to those in desperate need. However, despite the immense outpouring of support, the challenges of rebuilding were immense. Many areas faced ongoing struggles with accessibility due to damaged infrastructure and harsh winter conditions, making it difficult to reach those who needed help the most. The experiences of survivors served as powerful testimonies to resilience, illustrating the strength of the human spirit in the face of disaster. Ultimately, the 2005 earthquake was not just a natural disaster, it was a catalyst for change. It exposed vulnerabilities in building practices and emergency preparedness in the region. As a result, many lessons were learned that led to better construction standards and improved disaster response strategies in Pakistan and beyond. The earthquake's legacy endures as a call to remember the importance of being prepared for future natural disasters, as well as the need for compassion and support in rebuilding lives and communities.